Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain, where you're probably still seeing me looking cozy and not made up. My hair pulled back because I do need to swing by the hair place. I was going to do my roots last weekend, forgot to get bleach. Now, I still walk into this weekend forgetting to go grab bleach, but I'm going to go get it tomorrow, and then I will be doing my roots and refreshing my hair color and being all nice and fresh for the Ides of March going into April, then May. So looking forward to getting all that done tomorrow. And yeah, but I am bringing to you guys The Sirens by Emilia Hart. Now, she also wrote the book Wayward, which I was going to do a podcast episode for my podcast Books Are Magical. I did need to take just a couple months hiatus to kind of get myself in order. I was going to start it back in January. I think I'm going to try starting it maybe in April. I know that's a couple months later than I intended, but just had to get a couple other life things in order to be able to do both my YouTube channel and to do a podcast as well, because I also still have my Monday through Friday 7 to 3 day job that I do love, but some days I just can't do as much as that I want to do. I do have 2 puppies that I love spending time with, and so I try to ensure I have good balance in my life. But that's why that podcast has taken just a little bit longer to come back online than I really intended. But I was going to have my first episode to be Wayward by Emilia Hart, and hopefully you will look forward to it if and when I get that ready to go out. But we are talking about The Sirens by Emilia Hart, which is expected publication on April 1st of 2025. And no, this is not an April Fool's. This book is emotional. It is kind of heartbreaking, and you do see echoes of Wayward. You don't have to read Wayward to understand this book, but you can see Emilia Hart's I guess the way she writes, the style she writes, you see the echoes of that in this book as well. And so let us dive in and see what we think. A story of sisters separated by hundreds of years but bound together in more ways than they can imagine. 2019, Lucy awakens in her ex-lover's room in the middle of the night with her hands around his throat. Horrified, she flees to her sister's house on the coast of New South Wales, hoping Jess can help explain the vivid dreams that preceded the attack, but her sister is missing. As Lucy waits for her return, she starts to unearth strange rumors about Jess's town, tales of numerous missing men spread over decades, a baby abandoned in a sea-swept cave, whispers of women's voices on the waves. All the while, her dreams start to feel closer than ever. 1800, Mary and Eliza are torn from their loving home in Ireland and forced onto a convict ship headed for Australia. As the boat takes them further and further away, further and further away from all they know, they begin to notice unexplainable changes in their body. A breathtaking tale of female resilience, The Sirens is an extraordinary novel that captures the sheer power of sisterhood and the indefinable magic of the sea. So, this is listed as being historical fiction, magical realism, mystery, mythological or mythology, and historical. And I want to say that some of the historical may be of course, sending the convicts to Australia. That was what I had heard. Even though I'm not of Irish or British descent, I had heard via my American education that Australia was used in part in the past as a almost like a prison island. And I know it's very, very large, so please don't get me wrong when I say island. I'm not imagining Australia to be small. Hold just a moment. I have a fuss pot of a little buddy over here. We'll see how well this little man does as we sit here and talk about this book. But he was kind of acting like he wanted to play a little bit on the bed, so I thought maybe I'll bring him over here and see how he does. He's been doing a phenomenal job, um, really coming out of his shell. But let's go back to the book. Um, so the Sirens. Let's just start with Lucy and her sister Jess. Um, I think, well, they have a very good relationship, or at least they did for quite a long time. And it seems like something happened where Lucy, I guess, felt like her sister was kind of distancing herself from Lucy. She tried to call and reach out, but just stopped kind of responding. And so Lucy kind of feels, I don't want to say abandoned, but like she's a ship without a rudder a little bit. Jess has always been, um, an ever present kind of person in her life. And I want to say Jess is like 16 years older than her, because when Jess was little, she had begged and begged and begged her parents for a sibling, and then along comes Lucy. So um, that was a very kind of cool, cute thing. But the story itself, when it comes to the Sirens, is not only about Lucy and Jess, but it is about Mary and Eliza as well. And Mary and Eliza have been convicted of, well, a man tried to assault one of the sisters. The other sister took a rock to him, and they kind of left him gurgling on the ground. Well, they weren't even tried, but they were just pretty much picked up, tossed on a ship, and ripped away from the life they knew, even though it was in self-defense. So off they go to this new colony of Australia, in the hold of a pretty much a prison ship, and it is pretty much it's all women in the belly of this ship. And many of them have done very little, maybe stolen bread or something fairly small. One of the women has a very young daughter with her. One is an older lady. You can almost, I don't want to call her a crone, but she's definitely of the older persuasion. But as they're in the hold of the ship, they definitely start to notice changes in their bodies. And that's where some of the magical realism comes from, because the longer they're exposed to the water, I guess you can say, the more it seems to like change them. Now, yes, they are in a ship, so they shouldn't be like exposed to too much water, but I think just being around it in this kind of like for this duration of time is really starting to change them. And this may be a spoiler, but it's called the Sirens for a reason, right? So I guess I'll put in my title possible spoilers, and that way other people can also kind of decide one way or the other if it's really a surprise or not. But the girls seem to have a really good ability to sing, and even though their skin doesn't always react well to water, it almost like it cracks and peels as though something underneath is trying to come through. They do notice different things in their body that are changing. And fast forward to kind of current times, this is 2019, when Lucy does kind of awaken from her sleepwalking stupor, and she has her hands around the throat of a boy who has really made her life kind of a living hell. He has shared some pictures that she thought they liked each other. He kind of abused that relationship by sharing the pictures she shared with him with the entire college campus. And in her sleepwalking state, she finds herself trying to choke him in his sleep. So she flees the campus, she flees the school, and the only place she can think of that may be safe is her sister's house on the coast of New South Wales. Now, she hasn't seen her sister at this point in a little while, But she's hopeful that Jess will take her in and that everything will be okay. But when she gets there, Jess isn't there. Now, she can clearly see that Jess has been doing some painting, doing some artwork, because there's a lot of different works on the walls and kind of around the house, which seems to suggest that Jess was working towards an art gallery showing that she soon finds out, Lucy soon finds out, is supposed to be coming up this coming weekend. So Jess has to come back by the time her show is, right? Like, that's what she believes. Well, days and days pass. She arrives on Tuesday, and I want to say by like Friday ish, she's really starting to worry, because at this point, Lucy has been uncovering other things about New South Wales and the surrounding area, and the village, and a teacher, and things about Jess as well that she didn't know. And so everything in her mind is just an absolute jumble. She is a ball of emotion, and she doesn't know really how to process it, until she starts to realize and she starts to think, where could her sister be? And there's one particular story that kind of helps guide her to where she thinks she needs to be. And I think we learn a lot about, even though it's not implicitly stated, I think we learn a lot about the connection of Mary and Eliza to Jess and Lucy. And it's a really good, in my personal opinion, it's a good book, but it does take a very meandering sort of path to get there. I can certainly see why some people may not have enjoyed it as much as maybe they did with Wayward, because this one feels a little bit slower in my personal thoughts. I really I love a good kind of fantastical tale, and this is a good tale. Now, again, we do revolve around different women in different time periods, so that's another echo to Wayward. Wayward is the Wayward women, 3 different generations of Wayward women just across the timeline. But there are some secrets in this book, some twists in this book I think I saw coming. There are a few others I don't think I did. But some of it ended up being pretty, I guess, more real than what I guess I hoped a fantastical book would be. So I definitely put this more on adult fiction rather than any level of fantasy. Even with the magical realism, even with the sirens and all of that sort of such, I put this firmly in a category of emotional, dramatic. What is it, little buddy? Did your foot stuck? There. Sorry, he went. I don't know what he was doing. So it's another book that's powerful. Yes, it is powerful, but I don't know. I feel like the Wayward story didn't wander about as much, and this one is good. It's empowering. We do ultimately help each of these women find voices and all this sort of stuff. It can be rewarding in the end, but you may feel a little less satisfied than you did with Wayward. I'm not going to tell you how I think you should feel. Now, one person says it's a beautiful journey through different timelines and a chance to empathize with powerful heroines on their path to self-discovery. And that sounds great. And I really, I appreciate the sentiment, Miss Nilofer Osmekic, but I also think that's a bit of an overstatement. It's a good journey across different timelines, and we do get to empathize and sympathize with the various heroines, but they are flawed, and they are imperfect characters. And I mean, as most humans are and should be written. Like, nobody's perfect, so I don't think we should expect them to be perfect, but there's a little less perfection, I guess you could say, at some points. Um, and they are on a path to self-discovery. I just not quite sure it's as like ta-da as that person's sentence really made it feel like. So I give it 4 stars because I do feel like it was good. Um, and I will continue to look for Emilia Hart's work because I do think the voice she gives these characters is well done, especially as each character seems to go through their own level of trauma and turmoil and, difficult situations, hard situations, almost, just, you could even say unfair situations at some points. There are definitely some points where you're just like, what the heck? But um, it's a good book, and I do highly recommend it. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, and I'm going to let you guys go and figure out what you think and if you may want to read it yourself. Again, I liked it. I think I did picture something more fantastical. I think I got more of a story of sisterhood and bonding and, again, yeah, self-discovery and self-understanding, which I'm not mad about, but I would like just a little more magic. I always like just a little bit of magic sprinkled into the everyday, though, even into the hard stories and into the topics that are a little less enjoyable to talk about. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'm gonna put my arm around here so I don't interrupt the little man he's probably just see. Oh no, he's like, what's going on, Mom? Hey buddy, are you okay? Did you mind that too much? Nah, he seems okay. I'm gonna go take him outside real quick and see if he does some business. You wanna go outside? What you thinking, little man? Anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope you like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.